Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at the Iron Duke 4. This is a rare Tier 3 premium vehicle on the British Ground Forces tech tree, currently sitting at a battle rating of 5.0, and it is definitely a fun little tank to drive around. Main reason behind that being the gun on this vehicle. This has a 77mm cannon. That's a little bit bigger than the 17-pounder gun you would find on, for example, a Sherman Firefly. But what really sets this gun apart is the rounds it can take. This can take some very destructive APDS rounds. These have over 200mm of penetration, even on a 30-degree angle, which does mean that when you're facing tanks such as the T-34, the IS-2, Tiger 1, Panthers, possibly even Tiger 2s in very rare situations if you up-tier yourself, it won't really have much of a problem. You will be able to pen them fairly effectively. It, of course, does not have any actual explosive in the round. It is sort of just a go in, possibly fragment. Most of the time it will fragment if you hit the right place, although sometimes it'll only knock out 1 or 2 crew members and you'll have to go back for another shot. But nonetheless, that is an incredibly effective round that will have no issues at all penning an enemy target. Now, another reason I enjoy driving this tank is, at least for its rating and compared to other British tanks, the manoeuvrability, or mobility at least, of the vehicle isn't actually that bad. It can go 32 miles an hour at maximum speed. The transmission is fairly slick actually. It tends to turn on the spot fairly quickly, and generally the mobility is very nice. The one possible downside to that though is that the reverse speed is slower than a snail's crawl. It only goes 1 mile an hour in reverse, which really can be the death of you, at least in all the games I did in this vehicle today. That was the death of me more than once, which was rather annoying. But other than the reverse speed, it is a very pleasant vehicle to drive around. The turret rotation also isn't too bad. You can do 12.6 degrees per second of rotation with this, so it's not too bad in that degree either. Now, the last thing to talk about before going into some games is the armor. I'll very briefly go over it. The best armor is on the front of the turret, so definitely use this as a hold-down tank. But, you know, I'm not going to go into armor that much, but best armor's on the turret. It is also slightly angled in places. The frontal armor of the chassis is flat and a lot weaker than the frontal turret armor, so use it as a hold-down tank. You have a good gun, you're fairly small and mobile, that's what you want to be doing. Well, anyway, now that I have spoken about my thoughts on the performance of the vehicle, let's get in and take a look at some actual gameplay. Now, this was my first game in the vehicle, and it did end fairly well, although the start of the game didn't go so well for me. As you can see, I've just lost 3 of my 5 crew members, and despite that being a big negative in terms of this game as a whole, it does lead me on to talking about a big positive about this vehicle. And that positive is the survivability of the vehicle. You have a 5-person crew. That means you can take a very crippling hit like I did a minute ago and still not bite the bullet. You can get your vehicle running again, get to a base, use the crew replenishment you have to get yourself back to a 3-person crew, and then your vehicle is up and running again. As you can see, at the beginning of this game, I took a very crippling blow. My entire turret was knocked out, I lost 3 of my 5 crew members, and yet I've been able to get back into the field, get 2 kills, and in a minute I'm also going to get a base cap. So at least from a survivability standpoint, this tank is definitely pretty good. And one other thing that surprisingly enough makes it pretty good in that department is the weak armor in certain places. For example, the side armor. I have seen times in the few games I've done today where a round has gone straight through, and yes, it may have knocked out maybe 1 crew member, but in my opinion that's far better than the round going in and then exploding and knocking out your entire crew. So in a way, the weak armor does actually help. But nonetheless, that was the end of my first game, and I got 2 base caps, 2 kills, and a few assists, so I'm definitely not going to complain. So my next game was on the map Advance to the Rhine, and this is definitely an urban playstyle type map, and it is a playstyle of which I think the Iron Duke 4 is very well suited for, thanks to the decent mobility. Now, I was trying to sneak round to the sea point. Unfortunately, I was blocked off by a Russian tank destroyer and a T-34. The tank destroyer was fairly easy to knock out using my APDS round. The pesky little T-34, on the other hand, decided to hide around a corner, so I edged forward bit by bit, getting ready to fire in. First shot, I knocked out the driver to make sure he couldn't pull forward and attack me, and, you know, the next shot, I decided I would have to take out some more crew members, so I edged forward a little bit more and got ready to fire. Luckily, I was able to hit one of the fuel tanks and set him on fire, so at least that does sort of give a bit of a guarantee he won't shoot me, and then the final shot knocked him out, giving me my 2nd kill of the game. Now, funnily enough, another kill was not far off for me. As I moved forward towards the sea point, I looked around the corner, and there's a German tank destroyer. So I move a bit more. I think he's seen me as he is turning, so I fire one shot, and luckily it is able to knock out his entire crew. The next logical step was to move to the C point, where I then would use crew replenishment to replace the crew member that the T-34 had previously knocked out. The T-34 did actually get a shot onto my turret and knocked out my loader. My loader was then swapped with who is basically just a reserve crew member. Technically he's the front gunner who uses the machine gun in the front of the chassis, although that gun isn't really usable, so I like to think of it as just a reserve crew member. I did though go and grab another kill on a Hetzer, and then the game ended, so effectively 1 base cap, 4 kills. Overall I would count that as a successful game. Now this next game is the one I am the most happy with from this video. I start off by taking up a camping position opposite the B point on the map, and I do spot an enemy T-34 who I then proceed to fire at. I do knock out a few crew members in the turret, although I only get an assist, but not to worry, far more kills are to come in this game. So the first kill I actually get is on a KV-1E. Now that tank can be very dangerous to face, main reason being the armor is incredibly strong. Now I was able to first off knock out one of these crew members, which was definitely something I was fairly happy with. My second shot unfortunately did bounce. It didn't do anything, mainly due to the high angle that his turret was at. But then for the next shot I decided to try and hit the front of the turret, and I got just the right point. I knocked out the cannon breech so he can no longer fire, and one more shot is all it took to finish off his tank by knocking out the remaining crew members, and that luckily gave me my first kill of the game. So from that point I then moved along to a new camping position where I engaged my next target, this being a T-34, and you know, I penned him twice through the frontal plate, both times doing fairly critical damage. First time setting on fire and knocking out 2 crew members, second time knocking out the remainder of the crew and giving me my second kill of the game. Definitely a very satisfying kill, killing a T-34. So, you know, killing a T-34 through the frontal plate, incredibly fun thing to do. Anyway though, moving on to my next kill of the game, big deadly German SPG up on the hill. So I used my last APDS round to knock out some crew members, switch over to APC-BC, fire that round off, and get me another kill. And that tank destroyer, it's very good I knocked him out, because if he stayed up on that hill, that would have been rather dangerous, especially considering the amount of damage that his gun could do. Nonetheless though, I move on, and you know, I'm now in a fairly stable camping position. I knock out another KV-1, so you know, another Russian tank down, definitely a good thing. Next kill is on a T-34, APC-BC round straight through the front of the turret, knocks out the turret crew. I move back, wait for the reload, then I move forward again. I see him trying to retreat, but you know, I'm not going to let him get away. So another shot into the front of the turret knocks out the remainder of the crew. This gives me my 5th kill of the game. So the game's about to end. It is on its last legs. Their points are dripping off. One more shot knocks out a Stug tank destroyer, giving me a 6-kill game. Definitely a game I was incredibly happy with. So, you know, good stuff there. Definitely shows the potential of this vehicle when used in the right way. So for the final game of the video, we're on a more rural map, far more open, and this does lead to some interesting opportunities. First off, using this as a flanking vehicle. You want to flank around, that way you can use that APDS shell on especially the side and rear armor of enemy tanks, such as IS-2s, and as you can see here, a Tiger 1, where you can really do some damage. With the Tiger 1, certain positions will knock out the ammo load, that will explode, giving you the kill, as it did just there with me, as well as the fact that a minute ago I also damaged an IS-2 from the side, who I was able to flank around. So, you know, if you get a rural map like this, do not try to go head on with the enemy. Don't go out in the open too much. Try and stay hidden. Try and stay below the brim of hills just so that you don't get hit. The reverse speed can make that difficult, but do try and do your best. And as you can see, I've flanked around this guy. He doesn't know I'm there, and I'm able to get myself another kill. So definitely a decent game there. And, you know, rural maps aren't the kind of maps I enjoy anyway. I prefer urban maps, as there's a lot more places to hide, and you can get a lot closer to the enemy vehicles before you're actually spotted, but nonetheless there are good ways to use these type of maps. Anyway though, I am going to end the video there. So I think in this video I have had a few decent games to show you guys, as well as hopefully getting across at least my point of view of how to play this vehicle to its strengths. It is still currently available as part of the Festive Quest event, so if you're interested, do go over to the War Thunder website, take a look at the Festive Quest news page, and then, you know, just sort of look at how to get the vehicle, and you are still able to get it. After the event has ended, it will be available on the War Thunder market, although it's likely the price on there will be rather high, due to the fact that the price is set by the players who are selling the vehicle. Anyway though, thank you very much for watching the video. If you did enjoy, please feel free to smash the like button, maybe even subscribe to the channel if you do. That will be massively appreciated. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.